built this car started by building this tractor. Same person, and the reason he switched is a story about a customer complaint that got handled badly. A complaint a lot of you get every single week. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to walk you through 5 moves this brand made and how a bakery, a law office, a plumbing company, or a hair salon can use every one of them. Number 4 is the one most small businesses get completely backwards, so stick around for that. Quick note on why this is worth your time. I work with local businesses on branding and positioning, and the same problems come up over and over. You feel invisible next to the bigger competitor. You compete on price because you don't know what else to compete on. You're not sure what your business actually stands for. Lamborghini answered all 3 of those questions decades ago. They just did it with a supercar instead of a storefront. Let's pull those ideas out. Ferruccio Lamborghini was born in 1916, the son of grape farmers in northern Italy. After the Second World War, he started building tractors out of surplus military parts in a small workshop. By 1949, he had a real factory, and those tractors got known for one quality above all. They were tough and they were reliable, and that reputation made him rich. Being rich, he bought toys, fast cars, including several Ferraris. And here's where the famous story kicks in. The way it's usually told, Ferruccio kept burning out the clutch in his Ferrari. He complained to Enzo Ferrari directly, and Enzo brushed him off, told him a tractor maker had no business criticizing a Ferrari. Insulted, Ferruccio went off to build a better car and prove him wrong. Now, I'm going to be straight with you because this matters more than it looks. Automotive historians can't fully confirm that conversation. Some who worked at the company believed it happened. Others doubted it. As one historian put it, something was said between these 2 men, but only Enzo and Ferruccio ever knew exactly what. Here's the part that is well documented, and honestly, it's a better lesson. When Ferruccio had his mechanics dig into the Ferrari, they found the clutch was the exact same part used in his tractors. He was paying a fortune to Ferrari for a component he already bought cheap for his own farm equipment. That's what stuck him. Not just wounded pride, but a builder looking at a product and thinking, I could do this better. So he founded his car company in 1963 and built the brand around that chip on his shoulder. What this means for you, your origin story is one of the most valuable marketing assets you own, and most of you are sitting on it. The reason you opened, the job you quit, the moment a bigger company treated a customer, maybe you, like they didn't matter. That story is what makes people feel something about your business before they've ever bought anything. Ferruccio's people have retold his version for 60 years. Yours is probably buried in an about page nobody reads. Move it to the front. Say it out loud on your website, in your window, when someone asks you how you started. One caution, and I'll come back to this at the end. Tell the true version. Ferruccio arguably polished his own story over the years, and a polished story that gets caught being false does more damage than a plain one that's real. Look at the logo. A raging bull. That's not a random cool animal. Ferruccio was born under the sign of Taurus, the bull, and he described himself as being strong and stubborn like one. He had that emblem made in 1963, and then he did the thing most businesses never have the discipline to do. He pushed that one idea into everything. The models get named after fighting bulls in bullfighting terms. The styling is aggressive and low and loud. The marketing leans into drama and power. Every touch point says the same thing: raw, aggressive, unmissable. That repetition is the whole game. A logo is not a brand. A brand is one clear idea that a customer can feel and repeat back to a friend. Lamborghini's is easy. Outrageous power, no apologies. Ferrari, right next door, chose a different single idea: racing pedigree and precision. 2 companies in the same business, each owning one word, neither trying to be the other. What this means for you: pick your one idea, then be relentless about it. If you run a bakery, are you the traditional everything from scratch recipe from grandma place? Or are you the wild new flavor of the week place? You can win as either. You cannot win both. Because a customer can't repeat, "We're kind of both," to a friend. Choose the word you want to own, then make sure your sign, your packaging, your social posts, and the way your staff answers the phone all say the same word. And notice the second half of what Lamborghini did. They refused to fight Ferrari on Ferrari's home turf. For years, Ferruccio kept his company out of racing entirely. Even though racing was the thing Ferrari was famous for, he wasn't going to lose a fight on the other guy's ground. If the national chain down the road wins on price and speed, you will lose trying to be slightly cheaper and slightly faster. You beat them by being the thing they physically cannot be. More personal, more local, more specialized. Move the fight to the ground that you can win. Now, who buys these cars and why? This is where it gets useful for you. The typical Lamborghini buyer is wealthy, historically around their mid-40s, and already owns several other cars. The people buying the most expensive models often have 10 or more in the garage. Think about what that tells you. This customer does not need another car, not even a little bit. So Lamborghini is not selling transportation. They're selling the feeling of having made it. The company itself talks about selling a lifestyle rather than a vehicle. The price, the waiting list, the exclusivity, those aren't obstacles to the sale. They are the product. The wait is part of what the buyer is paying for. What this means for you. Figure out the real reason people buy from you, because it's almost never the obvious one. Nobody pays $5 for a coffee because they're thirsty. They're buying a ritual, a few minutes to themselves, a barista who knows their name. Nobody hires a local accountant purely for arithmetic. They're buying the feeling of not lying awake worrying about a tax letter. When you know the real thing that you sell, your pricing, your marketing, and your customer experience all get sharper because you're finally selling what people are actually paying for. Now, I don't want to oversell this one because sell the feeling gets repeated by every marketing guru until it means nothing. So be concrete. Write it down in one sentence, the emotional outcome your best customer walks away with. Not the service, the feeling. If you can't write it, that's your homework this week. All right, this is number 4, the one I said most small businesses get backwards. Lamborghini deliberately builds fewer cars than people want to buy. Their top models are sold out years ahead. They could make more money in the short term by simply building more. They refuse, on purpose, because the moment something is easy to get, it stops feeling special. Scarcity protects the desire. This is the lesson 100 business channels will tell you to copy. Limit your spots, create a wait list, make yourself hard to book. And it can absolutely work. Being a little exclusive can let you raise prices and increase how much people want you. But here's the part that those channels skip. And it's the reason I said you get this backwards. Scarcity only creates desire when the demand is already there. Lamborghini restricts supply against a global flood of buyers who are desperate to get in. If you put up a members only or a only 10 spots sign on a business that nobody's lined up for yet, you don't look exclusive. You look like you're pretending, and customers can smell it. Worse, if you actually need that revenue, you've just turned away money to protect an image you haven't earned. So the honest version of this lesson is a sequence. First, become genuinely good enough that more people want you than you can serve. Only then do you start capping availability, raising prices, and building a wait list. Scarcity is the reward for demand you already created. It is not a shortcut to creating it. Get that order wrong and it backfires. That's the one, if you take nothing else from this video, the order of those 2 steps. In 2018, Lamborghini did something that made longtime fans furious. They launched an SUV, the Urus, a family-shaped Lamborghini. Purists call it a sellout. Look at what happened. In its first full year, the Urus sold nearly 5,000 units and made up about 60% of everything the company sold. Total deliveries jumped 43% in a single year. And the number that matters most for you, around 70% of Urus buyers had never owned a Lamborghini before. It opened a whole new door without cheapening the badge, because the SUV still delivered the core promise: aggressive, fast, dramatic. Same idea, different shape. By 2024, the company was delivering over 10,000 cars a year, pulling in more than 3 billion euros at an operating margin around 27%, which is luxury goods territory, not normal car maker territory. The SUV that fans call the betrayal is a big reason why. What this means for you: you can expand into a new offering without losing who you are, as long as the new thing still delivers your one idea. The scratch bakery that adds a coffee bar, still built on the same craft. The barber who launches a grooming product line that feels like the shop. The key test is simple. Does the new thing reinforce your one word or dilute it? If it reinforces it, you reach new people. If it dilutes it, you confuse the ones you have. I'll be honest about the limits here because I owe you that. Lamborghini's bet was enormous, expensive, and genuinely risky, and we're only calling it smart because it worked. Plenty of brands extend into new lines and damage themselves doing it, so don't hear, "Take a wild swing." Hear, "You're allowed to grow." If the new thing still passes the promise test. Test it small before you bet the business on it. There's one more, and it's one that never makes it into these stories, which is exactly why I'm ending on it. None of what we just covered survives contact with a bad employee. The brand lives or dies with the people inside the building. The designer who won't sign off on an ugly line. The salesperson who understands they're welcoming someone into an elite club, not just closing a deal. The manager who protects what the brand stands for instead of chasing one good quarter. The whole Lamborghini identity traces back to a founder who refused to accept a part he thought was second rate. That standard, that refusal to settle, has to live in every person who touches the customer, or the brand is just an expensive logo. This is the great equalizer, because it costs nothing and you control it completely. You can have the best story and the sharpest brand in town, and one careless, distracted interaction at the counter erases all of it in 30 seconds. The person answering your phone is your brand. The teenager at your register is your brand. Hire for the standards and train your team on the why behind what you do, not just the checklist of tasks. People protect what they understand. So let's tie it off. A tractor builder may be insulted and maybe not, looked at an overpriced clutch and decided he could do better. Out of that came one of the strongest brands on earth. Not because of the engineering, because of 5 decisions you can start copying this week. 1. Your origin story is a marketing asset. Tell the true version loudly. 2. Own one idea. Repeat it everywhere. And refuse to fight rivals on their turf. 3. Sell what people actually buy, which is a feeling, not a product. 4. Earn the demand first, then restrict the supply. Never the other way around. 5. You can grow into new things as long as they keep your promise and your team either builds the brand or leaks it. You don't need a supercar budget to run this playbook. You need a clear story, one idea you own, and the patience to earn demand before you act exclusive. Do me a favor. Drop a comment with your one idea, the single word you want your business to own, and I'll read them and I'll push back on the vague ones. If this was useful to you, subscribe, click the notifications bell, and next week we're going to have another video that breaks down another luxury brand and how you can incorporate that into your business. See you next time.